Yeah, hello guys. How you doing? I hope you're good. Yeah, today we'll be looking into Docker, and looking at this Docker, we'll be looking at a few things, ranging from what is a Docker and what is a container, and the difference between the two. We'll also be looking at what an image is, and also we'll be looking at some basic Docker commands. We'll also be looking at um, let's say Docker compose, creating and deleting, and removing an image or a container, and we'll be looking at a link. This is how you could link with you can link images in Docker. We'll also be looking at a Docker app, which is a voting app. So we'll be creating the voting app with Docker, using Docker. So basically, we've talked about the content of today's class. So we'll be moving into the. Let me have this minimized. So we'll be looking into the details of these course. So I've created an Ubuntu instance on Amazon. So we're using that for the class. So we'll be starting basically from from the basic part of what Docker is, and we'll be installing Docker. So we're installing Docker, creating a Docker image. So I'll be doing everything manually from the scratch. So I'll be starting from the beginning, so you don't have to fall into mistakes or issue trying to install Docker or do anything. So everything will be using Google to solve a problem. So we have to Google these things. So if we fall into an error, we're going to use Google to solve it. So that's just the methodology I'm trying to use here, so that we could all learn at the same time. So we're going to start with the installation of Docker. So looking at this Ubuntu server, we see we don't have Docker installed on it. So we could install Docker using this, but let's get to the official documentation. So we have to use Docker official installation. So let's specify our OS, so that we could get the perfect um, image for it. So installing Docker using the repository. So we have to update the package of the repository. So after that, we do this. So that is, we have to set up the repository. So after that, we do this. So let's get that done as well. So we can do this afterward too. Okay. Yes. So we can do this afterward to update the packages one more time. So let's get it done. Docker. Oops. So we have an error here, I think. Has no installation candidate, unable to locate. Okay, that's good. So since we we are missing some steps here. Okay. Okay. Yeah. So should be able to get it sorted now. Okay. And then this. Yeah. So Docker is downloading at the moment. So we'll be able to start running Docker on this machine. So it's getting downloaded. So we basically why this is doing. Okay, it's done. So we want to explain what Docker is. So basically, when we talk about Docker, there are some situations where you find yourself that you need to, you know, build an application, or probably a developer from a company needs a setup, or a new developer to be specific, it needs a setup to build this application. Probably they need a version of the application. They need a version of the application to run, probably the Nginx server, probably the Nginx server or the Ubuntu server, or probably oh sorry, I mean the sorry about the Ubuntu server. Dockers are not meant to run OS, so they have some applications that needs to be run. Probably the Nginx server, a specific version of it, or other applications, the MySQL, which they need a version. They need a version of it. The Redis as well, they need a version of it. So it's quite difficult for us to get this done in a single machine. So Docker helps us to solve this compatibility issue by pulling these images from its official repository. So the official repository is the Docker Hub. Just Google the Docker Hub, where it pulls all images from this repository. So we have many containers. We have many images on this website. So you have to register. Oh, okay, I'm not on my registered account. But we have many images on this website. For example, let's check the MySQL. Okay, I'm not logged in. I hope I'll be able to see this. So how you good? So we have the MySQL. So it has many tags, or the tags are also known as version in Docker. So we have the latest. So we have different versions that we could attach. So probably you as a developer, you need this version, this 5.7.35. So you're just going to append it to the Docker command. So it's going to get this version, this specific version for you, and you need the Nginx version of probably a specific version that you want to use. So this Docker command is going to bring it together for you, and you could also link these applications on this Docker server. You could link this application, this Docker server by that is by using the word link, or the a sub command called link. So this sub command called link is going to be so useful later on in this course, when we'll be building our voting application. So when we'll be building our voting application, so all we just have to do here is understand the basic things, or the basic things that Docker has in that Docker has for us. So basically, we have the explanation of Docker at the moment. So another thing we need to know is a container. So a container is a completely isolated environment. So they can have their processes, they can have their services and modes, networks, and so they are just like the VMs, the virtual machines or the hypervisors. But the main difference is that Docker runs on OS, that is, they run on OS, but the hypervisors they could come with their OS. For example, now on the VM you could run the Ubuntu server, you could run the CentOS, you could run anything, the Windows 7, or any type of operating system you want on the hypervisors of the virtual machine. But on Docker, they could run it as well, but they are not meant to run it. So whenever you run, probably let's say, okay, whenever you run something like an Ubuntu server using Docker, so it's going to run, but it's going to exit immediately. So it's going to exit immediately. So this is something we should keep in mind. So Dockers are not meant to run operating system. They are meant run to run software packages. They are meant to run applications. So it's something that has made lives of millions of developers easier. So by the day, so we should keep this in mind. So Docker, it's very useful. So it's very useful for building application, especially when you have dependencies or library issues or version. You have a software, but you need a particular version for it to work. So something like that. So Docker is the solution to that. So next we'll be moving to the basic Docker commands. So here we have Docker. So Docker, for us to get the version, we have to use Docker version. So this is the version of the Docker that is running on our system. So when trying to connect, okay, since we need sudo to get most of the actions done here. So yeah, so this is the version we have on our system, so we can see other things. So firstly, we have to do something with our Docker. We have to start with pulling an image from the Docker Hub website. So let's say I think there's an image with hello world. Yeah. So this is an image which says hello world or something. So when you run it, so I'm going to pull that image. So it's going to be Docker run hello world. Oh, we missed our sudo. So Docker run hello world. So look at this. So hello from Docker. So it's just a basic, will I say basic app, which just shows a little result of hello world, and that's all. So it shows hello world. So another thing we have to learn now is we have to make sure that we are that is, we want to check on the images that are running on this system. So the images, they are the packages you've pulled from the Docker Hub. So when you run those images, you are going to get a different and isolated space, which is called a container. So the container is what you use to work in your application. So the images are usually stored on the here whenever you run them. Whenever you run the image, so it's going to get stored here. So look at the one that we just created, that we just pulled from the Docker Hub. So the repository is installed here. So it has the tag later. So I talked about the tag. So the tag is like, let's say a version of something. So let's look at, I think the Docker, does it have any tag? So okay, we have many tags here as well. So So to add tag to something, so we are going to, okay, before I have copied that, but we are going to get to that. So we have the tag, it's like the version, so it's pulling the latest version of this application, hello world, from the Docker Hub repository. So this is the image ID. It's just a random value that is assigned to images on the Docker Hub. So it was created 2 weeks ago. So size is 13.3 kilobytes. So this created, it should be some moment ago, probably some seconds ago. But let's see. Let's see Docker. Okay, sudo Docker ps. So looking at this, we see that Docker is now running container ID. That is, it's not running any container, but it is running an image. Docker is not running a container, but it is running an image. So if we want to run this Docker, that is the Docker image, for example, so we are going to run it from the container. But let's not go in depth into that at the moment. So we are going to move more into some basics command of Docker. So, but firstly is that as we've done, we did something here. We actually run a container from the hello world repository. Well, let's not go in depth into that. We are learning the basics of Docker at the moment. So we have the Docker sudo just the permission stuff, Docker images to check images that we used. So when you say sudo Docker ps, so it's going to name, it's going to show the image and the container that we run on this machine, that is running on this machines rather. So but if you want to check all the containers that have been run on this machine, so we are going to use this. So it was created 4 minutes ago and it exited also 4 minutes ago. So it's just exiting. So look at the container ID here. So look at the image name. So it is attached to this image. That is, the container is attached to this image here. So we could see that, and the command it is running into is /hello. So well, it was created 4 minutes ago and exited with 0. So this exits code has various code as well. We have 137. So we are going to look into that as well. So we have the port. If it is attached to any port, it's going to show here. And we have the name of the container. So this container name, they are random names. They are random names that Docker gives containers, So it gives container different names, just random names everywhere. So we've learned how to create, how to check, how to run a Docker image. That is, how to pull a Docker image and how to create a Docker image. So we talked about sudo Docker images to check the images on this system, on this machine, and also we have the sudo Docker ps -e ps to list the currently the current running image and containers on this machine, and we have with the a tag to show the whole images that was run on this machine in the past. So as we are looking at this now, we have the idea of the basic command. So another command we'll have to use is the sudo Docker. Okay, sorry about that. Sudo Docker pull. Okay, before we do that, let's look at a simple command to remove images, for example. So before you could remove an image, you have to stop the container one, and you have to remove the container. So we have to stop the container and remove the container. So before you could remove, and since the image is acting like the parent, so you have to kill the child before you kill the parent. So I think that's the basic idea behind that. So we have the docker ps, let me see. So this, okay, sudo. So we have this as the container ID, and we have this. So let's try removing the image. Remove. So for you to remove image, you have to use the command rmi remove image. So there are two ways we could remove the image. We could use the we could use the repository name, or we use the image ID, but mostly we use the image ID. And when you are using the image ID, you just need probably the first two or the first three or four the values of the image. So feb will remove the image. So looking at this now, feb, using this feb, that is, it is pointing to this value here, is supposed to remove the image, but it couldn't. So on a conflict, unable to delete, so must be forced. So the reason is that we still have our container which was run by this image in our machine. So for us to get rid of that, so you have to first delete this image. It's not running, but it's still present in our machine. So we have to first try to make sure that we delete this container. So for us to delete the container, so this is the container name. Okay, this is the container name. We are the container ID, but I prefer using the container ID because it's easy. So let's just do remove ffd or ff, it's okay. So when you do that, it's gone. So if we run this command again now, we see that the container has been removed, so it's no more there, and we don't have any container running as well. So for us to remove the image, we used this command before, which resulted in conflicts, unable to delete. So we are going to start again by doing docker ps-a docker remove image rmi feb. So that's the value for, where is it? That's the value for the image, for the docker image. That's the image ID feb. You could use feb5, you could use fe. So everything works. So when you do that, you see deleted, untagged, and deleted. So when we run docker images again, okay, sudo, sorry, ocd, I'm not used to that. Okay, so it makes sense like this. So we don't have any image running on this machine at the moment. So the next thing we could do that we want to learn is understanding how to how to pull an image without actually running it. So I think that makes sense, because the first thing we did here was just running an image directly. So when you do docker run and an image name, so it's going to pull the image plus run the container. So but when you do something like sudo docker pull let's say hello world, I think that was the last image we used. So it's just going to pull the image. It's going to pull the image without running the container. So let's look at docker sudo docker ps, no container is running. Sudo docker ps-a, no container was run. So clear for that. So no container was run in the past, as you can see that. And we also have sudo for us to see the image that was pulled. So just do sudo docker images. So we see that we just put the image, we didn't run the container. So that's the basic rule of running a container. So we've learned about running a container. We've learned about running a container. We've learned about how to view the containers you you pulled from the Docker hub. We've also learned about how to add how to run a container, how to view your container, and how to remove an image, and how to remove a container as well. So we're going to proceed now to the other part of the basics command of Docker. So we we are going to start with Docker. Okay, my sudo. So we are going to move to understanding why Docker can't run operating system. So when it runs, then it quits immediately. So looking at this. So when we run Ubuntu, it was supposed to run this application. But probably before we start that, I will like us to run an application that that runs normal. So we have an application from, okay, let's say Linux, for example. So we are going to see, okay, so it's pulling the images, and it's going to run the container as well. As you can see, it's going to run the container as well. So it's starting to gather the images and stuff. So basically that's how it works. So what happened here now is that we are going to get the sudo docker run nginx. It's going to get the image, and it's going to run the container as well. So something we should understand here now is that when it runs this container, it's going to work like, will I say, it's going to create a container where the container will run persistently, unlike the hello world that we put the other time, that the container exited with exit number 0. So I don't know why this is not running at the moment. I'm not sure. Okay, it's actually running. Let's try to stop it actually. So as you can see that we add issue here where the nginx was running. So let's look at something simple here. Sudo docker images. So we have the nginx image already there. So here I had to quit. I had to use the Control C because I was running the application somehow. I'm going to explain the difference to you now. So we have another one. So sudo the ps to check our containers. So we see that no container is running currently, but if we should use the a tag with it, we see that the nginx container actually run, but it ran, but it exited about 47 seconds ago, and it started to running about a minute ago. So the name of the container is Goofy Roitgen or something. So it's just a random name. So there's a container ID. So the issue here is that when I started running the container and it reached this stage, it was running, but I couldn't use this tab anymore. I couldn't work on this tab anymore at that time. So I will have to probably get a new tab here to log in or do stuff before I could continue using the tab. So that brings us to the detached mode and attached mode. So when we're talking about the detached mode, there's a way you could run your containers in detached mode. So the detached mode it's not going to show you everything here. It's not going to show you everything. So it's going to run it in at the background. Why the attached mode? By default, it usually runs in the attached mode, where it's going to show you, the log of it pulling down the images from Docker Hub, creating the containers and the likes. So I don't want to see that. All I want is the container ID, so which is something I actually want to talk about now. So we have detached. So when you do detach, so you are going to use the command. So you are going to use the -d. So for that, so when you talk sudo docker, okay, I think what we have to do now is remove all the images of the container first. We have to remove the container first, then we remove what? Then we remove the image of the Nginx server. So to remove that, to do that, so sudo docker remove d3e. So I think that's enough. So it's removed. So when we run this again, so we don't have any more Nginx container running. So to remove the image, so rmi remove image. So we have it's okay. I don't okay. The image ID is what? F8F. Okay, F8F. So that's it. So you see, everything's gone. So when we do docker sudo docker images, so we have just the hello world, and when we do sudo docker ps, or we do the sudo docker ps -a, we have nothing running. So what I want to talk now is about creating this video, creating these containers using using the detached mode. So to run the detached mode, you have to do sudo docker run, then d. That's all. So the name of the image. So when you do this, so it's going to pull it. So it's going to pull it. So it's running detached mode. So the only thing is showing me here is the log for pulling the server, and not stopping me from writing anything on my terminal. So as you can see, so that's just the thing it's teaching me over here. So it's basically using the detached mode command. So well, looking at this now, we have our server running. So we don't have to press Ctrl C, that is Ctrl C, to stop the server from running. So if it is in the attached mode, we have to use the Ctrl C, and it's going to exit the server. So looking at the sudo docker r, okay, ps, we see we have ps, we have our container running. So it's still running. So it's running on this port. So I hope that's understood now. So it's running on it's running on this port. So it's running on this port, and it has been running for 49 seconds ago. So let me use docker sudo docker images. So we have, you still see the images there, so 103 MB. So that's just about running it in attached or detached mode. So if we want to attach it again, so we could do something like, oh sorry, we could do something like DC37. I think that was the command. Yeah, so it's going to be in attached mode again. So we can use our terminal. So if we use Ctrl C, for example, now, so it's going to exit. So it's going to exit it. So when you check docker, sudo. So when we check it without the A, we are going to see that it's no more running. When we check with the A, we see that it's gone. So another thing I want to teach us here is based on how can we remove multiple containers, or remove multiple what's it called, multiple what's it called, containers or images from the using this docker command. Probably we have hundreds of command, hundreds of hundreds of containers or images we want to remove. So the first thing we'll do here is try to understand which container we want to remove first. So we do docker sudo docker, then we list the containers, that is the image, okay, the containers first. So we should always note the containers first before remove the image. So let's run another container. Let's assume hello world, for example. So hello world. So I think that exited itself, so it's going to be here. So let's assume we want to remove these two containers using just one command. So we are going to do sudo docker remove 6AA, that's the first container, and DC37, or just this 3. So it's going to remove the two. So the two they are gone. So using this we have nothing. So looking at the images as well, we see we have okay, images here, 2 images. So the first one, so we're going to do sudo docker rmi the image ID. So I prefer using the image ID, and FEB. Yeah, so they are gone. So using these images, we don't have any image on our system, on our machine at the moment. So that's about it. So what we are going to go into now is more comments into running, what's it called, running what's it called, that is more commands about the container. So we've not talked about how to stop a container. What we've been using to stop a container is Ctrl+C. That is whenever we are in the detached mode. So to stop a container, so let's run a container, for example. Now let's run nginx, or nginx a minute. I think there's some lag or something. nginx, for example. So I'm running it in at there, so sorry about that. I'm running it in attached mode. Why? Shouldn't do that. Okay, so detached. So I'm just getting the ID, since we've pulled it here. So that's why I'm just getting the ID, so it doesn't need to pull anything. So we have the image on our machine already. So so when we do sudo docker ps, so we have our nginx server as a container running. So we have to do sudo docker stop and the container ID to stop the ID, to stop the container. Yeah, so looking at it now, we don't have any container. So that's all what we know about using the stop command to stop a running container. So now we are going to talk about, we talked about Dockers not being used to run OS. That is, they are not used to run any OS command. They are not used to run any OS such as the CentOS Ubuntu. So let's take, for example, now that we want to run the Ubuntu command operating system, for example. So we have the Ubuntu. Let's see what happens. So it's pulling the image, it's downloading from the Docker hub. So very good. So we have the latest Ubuntu image has been pulled on our server, but we use the run command not the pull command. Why is it not running? We didn't use the attached command, the detached command as well. Why is it not running? So I think this is due to some issue, because Docker is not meant to run OS. So let's confirm that. So we have Docker PS, so it's not running. But when we look at PS minus a hyphen a, we have Ubuntu. So it's run and it's exited. It started 38 seconds ago and it exited just 1 second. So what's the cause of this? It's because Docker is not meant to run Ubuntu. So to make Ubuntu run on this server without issue, since we have the image already on this server, that is, the image got downloaded here, I think. So the image got downloaded here. So pull complete. So we have the image on the server already. So on the so we have the image. So let's try to run this Ubuntu server. That is, let's try to run it as a container. So sudo. I think I'm getting used to sudo now. That's great. So run Ubuntu. And we want to try to have access to what's it called, the interactive section, and also the bash, what's it called, the bash command line. So we are going to just do this. So with this, we could the I will help us get into the interactive section of Ubuntu, so that we could use input, while the T is going to help us execute the command, that is the bash what's it called. So we are going to have the bash what's it called, the bash terminal on our screen any moment from now. So yeah, we're in Ubuntu server. So this is the ID. So we are in the Ubuntu server as root. So we might say, who am I? So root pwd. So we do something like cat etc slash release. Yeah, so Ubuntu, as you can see that. So this is an Ubuntu server now. So let's just exit. See, that's awesome. So we had access to this bash terminal on Ubuntu. So let's clear this. So you could also run some commands directly using this Ubuntu. That is, you want to run some commands directly on the Ubuntu machine without actually having to log into this Ubuntu. So let's try that. Let's do sudo docker run Ubuntu. Let's say cat. I'm not sure if that's going to run, but I think it's going to run. Release. So as I said, it's just an interactive section. I will be trying some things that will make you learn more about Docker. So you see, it actually worked, so which is great. So it's just run the Ubuntu command, got this run this command, and it exited immediately. But it didn't log in, it didn't get us to the bash shell, so which actually makes sense. So we talked about the tag the other time. So when we download an image, for example, let's say when we try to run to download to pull an image. So for example, we say pull. No, okay, let's use pull redis. Let's notice something. So look at this, using default tag latest. So it is pulling the default tag, that is the latest tag, latest version of this redis database. But we don't want to use the latest, but probably your developer is asking you to get in the 4.0 version, or the lower version of it. So all you just have to do is come here, find, okay, let's say Redis for example, so official image. So looking at the tags, we have a lot of tags, supported tags here. So we have the bull eyes, we have many tags here. So instead of, okay, let's try this out, sorry, it's not gonna copy. Let's try this bull eyes. I think I like the name. Okay, bull's eye. Okay, let's try it out. So we have our the Redis on the image on the system already. So let's look at it here. Okay, so Redis, so the latest version, that's the tag. Sometimes your developer wants the lower version of that. So let's try to remove the Redis server. So the Redis database, sorry. So looking at the image, so it's no more there. So let's try to use the version. Sudo the Redis version of 6.0 bullseye. So pool, we could run it as well, but let's use pool to avoid complication at the moment. We're just trying to get the Redis version, so 6.2 bullseye. So just use this. So tag latest, so 6.2 bullseye. Yeah, let's go. So see this, it's pulling this version of Redis from here, from the Docker hub. So it makes sense. So let's look at our main image now. So we have Docker, sudo Docker images. I'm getting used to sudo, so I'm happy. So tag. So we have the tag here. So I think that's enough for us to understand that we could get any version from for using the Docker. That is, our Docker could run any version of our app. So it makes sense at the moment. So we're moving forward. So another thing I would like to show us to show here is there's for you to check the log of the container. Okay, let's see, does it work for images as well? Let's see. Not bad. We check. So logs B84. So B84 is for this. So B84. Okay, it works for container. So sudo docker. So container. Do you have any container running? So let's get a container running. So to run a container based on the images we have, so we're going to just do Redis. So with the bool tag, so that's not going to download the latest version. So I didn't detach it, my bad. So let's run it in detach mode. So it's not going to stop us from using the terminal. So just get the image and the container ID, and that's all. So sudo docker ps, yeah, we're good to go. So already this server is running using this is the container, and I think this is a short form for it. So we want to get the log of this of this container. So we're going to use these logs. So sudo docker logs 2150. Yeah, look at the log. So it's going to show you the logs. Probably you are having an issue with with the applicant, the database or something, or the container. So you could use the log to work with it and to check what was actually wrong. So the next thing we'll be looking at now is the volume mapping. Volume mapping in Docker. So let's clear our terminal. So for that example, I'll be using MySQL or MySQL, or depends on how you call it, but as long as you understand what you're saying, so it's good. So sudo docker pull, or should we run? Let's run MySQL. Sorry. So I didn't run it in detachment. I will have to stop that. I make this mistake quite often. I think I have to learn. Okay, well, so that's good. So it's actually running. So there's a way we could add this to it, but not now. We're going to talk about that later. So it's like adding the environment variables, So sudo docker ps. So you see that our MySQL was got server actually got exited after. So you have these. They will understand now. So it's actually exited. Just stayed just for 2 seconds. So I think for us to make it work, we have to add this what's it called to it. We have to add the password and stuff to it. So we're going to talk about that later. But basically, what we want us to understand is that MySQL runs on it's stored usually in the var slash lib. So the var slash lib, that is the directory. So where the data of this MySQL are stored. So for us to actually not lose data when we have a problem with our container, or when our container stops due to an error, so we could map this volume to another directory on our system. So to do this, it's not very difficult. So you have to just create your own directory. So let's try to list. So there's nothing here. So let's make directory. My directory. Okay. So cd my directory. Yeah. Oh. Okay. cd. Oh. I'm not concentrating. Yeah. So this is the new directory. So let's get back to home. So to make that work, we have to do something like sudo run. You have to use the v tag. So we have to put the new directory. So my directory. Yeah. So to the var slash lib slash MySQL. So when we lose our data, or when we lose the what's it called, so we are not going to have any issue. So the data will actually be stored here. Did I not put a colon here? Sorry, this should be like this. So this is called, using this, it's called mapping. So it's different from using the tag. So the tag is used for version, but using the v sub command here, so you could actually map your own directory to the default MySQL directory. So when it is run with Docker commands. So if probably something happens to your MySQL container, so you don't want to lose the data. So the data is going to be stored here. So you could actually restart your data using this volume here. So let's get that done. So I think we should run it in detachment. So even though we might not get so yeah, that's good. So let's try to cat my cd my directory. Okay, there's nothing there. But this is because we didn't add the password and the we didn't add a root password and username to the MySQL. It didn't run at all. Well, let's try to do something. Aside from that, if you have containers like this, which actually doesn't run, doesn't stay for seconds before they exit, something you could use to keep them alive is, we talked about Ubuntu. When you run Ubuntu, it doesn't stay alive, so you could use sleep command. Let's say 100 seconds. So when you run this, Ubuntu is going to run for 100 seconds. So let me quit it, for example. I'm running in. Oh, it's not going to quit. I was wrong. Oh, I think we have to wait 100 seconds for our Ubuntu to actually exit. But basically, what we've been saying is that there are Docker doesn't run OS. So you could run OS on this temporarily. So it's different from VM. So you just have to run your containers, such as anything, any tool you want to use, and any package you want to use on it. So you could use it to create a web application, download the MySQL, download the Nginx, your web application, as long as they are built with Docker. So when we have this, we're going to talk about Docker build. So when we have this Docker build, we could build those images. So after building them, all you just have to do, all your developer have to do is just to run the Docker run, and they will have all their apps running. So so that's just about Docker. What's it called? Docker commands, the basic Docker commands that you should know. So so for every component you need in an app, you could run these things, run these Docker commands to build them, to make them work, and to make them actually do whatever you want to do. So I'm waiting. Okay, my Ubuntu server has exited, thankfully. So it stayed 100 seconds. But the mistake I made was I should have done something like this. Run and add the detach so that we can see. So let's say sudo docker ps. So we see Ubuntu is running for the first time. So it will just run for 100 seconds. So after 100 seconds, it's going to, it's going to exit. It's going to exit the what's it called? So so let's there's a costume app would like to work on, which is the what's it called? The voting app. So we'll be getting that very soon. We'll be starting from scratch how to build it. So before we move to that, we have to understand a few things from uh, these, from the Docker file. So let's move to a popular Docker file and see the source code. Let's assume MySQL, for example. Let's see. No. Okay, this is the Docker Composer. Not this. I'm trying to get the source code for this application. Don't know whether it's taking time. Maybe because I'm not signed in. I'm not sure. I doubt that. Yeah. So this is it. So there are a few things I want us to understand from this file. So this is the Docker file. So from the Docker file, we have some commands therein. So we have this, looking at this orange value from run, run, environment, run, run. And then we have to the end entry point, expose, and CMD. So basically from what we should understand here, I'll start from the CMD. So CMD is just the command that this application will run whenever you whenever you probably you have the source code now and you run this MySQL. So the CMD is what this application will run. So it's going to run MySQLD on your terminal. So why looking at this expose, we have it to be the port which is going to expose. So which is going to expose your what's it called, your application to. So it's going to expose your application to a particular port. You know, like most basic most web applications, you might have them running on port 80, usually in Docker. So you have to sometimes expose them to your preferred port. Sometimes it might be port 5000. So probably you like that port, or you just want to work on that port, or you have the configuration to work on that port. So that's how that is done. So moving to the top, so we have this command, we have the run command, run command. So they are just going to run these, these commands on the terminal, and using this what's it called, so these are going to set the environment variables. So run. So from is just like the underlying thing. So it's going to get this Debian. It's going to get this image from the Docker hub. So it's going to get that. So we should understand that as well. So when we start writing our Docker file, so we get more understanding of how these things actually run. So so we move to the next part of the lesson now, which is the uh, understanding some parts of Docker, which is the Docker Compose. Docker Compose. Docker Compose. So Docker Compose, it works basically by creating a file known as Docker, then this compose.y dot YAML or YML or anyone. So so this Docker Compose file, it contains many things, starting from the images you want to run, the name you want to give it, the ports you want to expose it to, the applications you want to link them to as well. So it's going to show everything there. So this is very useful when you want to run multiple application at the same times at the same time, and you want to link them together as well. So this is going to be very useful for this type of project. Probably you want to run Redis, you want to run a Postgres of the database, you want to run your Node application, Nginx, and the likes. So it's very easy for you to do that using the Docker Compose. So, but before we move to the in-depth explanation, I want us to get the understanding of the what's it called, the what the Docker Compose does. So we're going to be using the voting app to show, you know, to show how we could work with this Docker Compose. That is how we could try to deploy applications and link them together using these Docker Compose. Just give me a minute, I'll be back. Yeah, so we're back. So just a short break for me. So um, Docker Compose, like I was saying, they are just config files. So they host multiple processes, and they are written in the YAML format. So if you don't know the YAML format, so it's actually so YAML format. You could just give it a quick Google. So you're going to find the YAML format. So they are used to run many applications such as so it's written like this, the Ansible, Kubernetes, Terraform, and the likes. So we'll be working on these files here. So these files basically, first we'll be deploying our application using what we've been learning, using the terminal directly, and then we're going to use the Docker Compose file to get it working. So as soon as we do that, we begin to see the difference. So we are going to do it manually first, then we write a Docker Compose file to run our application without any hassle. So um, getting started with Docker Compose, getting started with building the app, we have to search our application on GitHub. That is the application we want to use on GitHub, which is the voting app. So let's do that. So voting app, okay, by Docker. So it's here. Yeah, great. So looking at this voting apps, so example voting app. So it's simple just distributed application running across multiple Docker containers. So 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 looking at this app, we have the voting app, which should be a web application written in Python. So we have the Redis app, which is a temporary database. We have the worker.net app, which is connecting the Redis and sending data to the Postgres SQL, storing the data of the votes. And we have the result app taking values from the DB app, making sure they actually get the results of this app. So this will happen simultaneously. And what we'll be learning using this manual method is what's it called? What we call the link. So we are going to learn how to link applications here. So for us to link the voting app to the Redis, for us to link the worker to the Redis, and also to link the Redis, the worker to the Postgres application, and also to link the Postgres application to the Node.js, so that the Node.js application, the result app, can get data from this Postgres application. So we're going to get started with that. So firstly, looking at it, we have the voting application. So before we do that, so I think we should clone this. So to cloning is just like getting a copy of it on your local machine, getting a copy of the code on your local machine. So we are done. So example, so list, okay, yeah. So you see we have everything, it checks, case, specification, so everything we have here. So so the first thing we have to do is make sure we create our backend, which is our backends. They are the Redis and the Postgres application. So to do that, let's do it like this. So okay, cd, let's go back home. So docker and sudo, shouldn't forget that again. Sudo docker, then we want to run what's it called, the Redis app, right? So run Redis. Okay, I think before we do that, there's a command called name. That is, when we run our container, for example, now we have this ps. You see that the Docker gives our application a random name. So we don't want Docker to give it a random name. We want it to give it, a name that we specify. So we are going to do docker run, then the name you want. So the name should be Redis. So we are creating our Redis first. So Redis. So I hope that's understood now. So here we go. Oh, we should run it in detached mode. Oh, I make silly mistakes. Okay. Okay, the container is already in use, so we have to stop that container. So docker ps. Oh, okay. The name to be specific, this. So we have to remove it. Remove, what's the container ID? 68b. Yeah, here we go. So it should be removed now. Yeah, so we don't have anything already here. So let's run it again in detached mode. So it should be running now. Docker ps, so sudo. So this is it. So we have a name, Redis. That's good. So the next thing we're going to do now is our Postgres application. So we have sudo docker run. We have to give it a name as well. The reason why we are giving it a name is for us to link it to other application. So for us to link it, I think the Postgres application here is using a different. So we have to check the version that this application is using. So it might not be using the what's it called that we intended. Where is it? So Postgres. So it's using the version 9.4, which makes sense. So let me see if I'm still recording. Okay, still recording. That's nice. How about here? So streaming. That's great. So Postgres 9.4. So that's great. So we are going to have that as our DB, so that we could name it our DB, so that we won't have any issue linking them. Oh, I'm supposed to run it in detached mode. Oh, same mistake every time. OCD. Okay, it's not running because I think it wants an environmental variable called the password. Okay, no problem, we can do that. So let's see if it's actually successful. So we won't have to um, ps minus a. Okay, it's run, so we have to remove it first, I think. 99bf. Great, it's gone. So create the Postgres application again. Make sure run in detached mode. Then the name should be db. Then Postgres. Postgres. And we shouldn't forget that it was asking for a password. Shouldn't forget that. So yeah, I think we're good to go. Let's see. So sudo docker ps. Yeah, so our Postgres application is running. So great, with the name db. So we have our backend set up now, so without issue. So then the next thing we're going to do now is start with our front end, which is starting from the voting app, then the what's it called, the results app. So they are usually exposed to port 80. So most web applications on Docker works on port 80. So you have to expose them to your desired port number. So that's how it works. So we're going to do sudo docker run run name. So should we call it vote app or something? Let's call it vote. Then we have the port, which is port 5000, for example. So we want it to run on port 5000 ports. So we are mapping it to the port 80, which it runs automatically. So we use the link command. So the link is going to be, we are going to link it to Redis. So I'm going to tell you why we're doing that now. So we call it voting app. Voting app. I hope I'm correct. So the reason why we are linking it to Redis is because its link is connected to Redis here. So the values are moving to Redis. That's great. So hopefully we are going to, we got the name correct. Okay, detach mode. We shouldn't forget that again. Hopefully unable to find image voting app. Let's see from the repository on Docker Hub. I'm not sure. Let's see. No, looks like we made a mistake here. think we have the vote here. We have the worker. So we're going to call it the voting app or something now. I'm not sure, to be honest. So it should be voting app, of course. Should be voting app. So we've run into a first problem here. So we have to find a solution for that. So I'm not sure how we could man, but the file should be available on the file should be available on a minute. So cd vote list. What's wrong? What? Let's try it. I'm not sure, to be honest. It's supposed to work. Am I doing something wrong? I think not. Okay. There's definitely an issue. So I think we have to sudo. Okay, let's try doing the result app first. So it's just about struggling and not giving up on these things. I think that's the best way to learn. So result. So port 5001, for example, so that we could get our result on port 5001, and we are going to link it to the DB, just the Postgres database. So results. To be honest, this looks strange to me, but I'm trying to, find my way around it. It's totally normal for you to get into such issue. So vote. What's wrong? Okay. Oh, I think we actually missed few comments here. So we have to run. We have to build this, this application first before trying to uh, get it, because we should have an image. Let's go challenging. I think I love this. It's getting more interesting. It's usually nice if you find something that you can solve. It makes you want to learn more. I'm just trying this out for the first time, to be honest. So it's totally okay. Because I know I'm supposed to uh, get this done first. So say that no. Oh, I'm coming in a minute. That's so I think that was the issue. I'm not sure. But let's see. I think we're going to have a copy on our local machine. I'm not sure. Let's see. Sudo. So docker images. So well, okay, we didn't tag it. Wow, that's evil. We didn't tag it. Let's remove it first. Okay. Remove image AFE. Okay. Since that's done, so what we could do now is tag it. So I think we're going to target something like let's say votes, right? Let's see how fair it goes. Yeah, so we have it as votes. That's great. So I was confused that was happening, So let's see if we could do this as well. So what we're just trying to do here is that we have the Docker file already. So I spoke about the Docker file the other time. So let's see it basically. So let's see the Docker file. So from Node, so it's running based on Node. So it's going to run this command, again, try to update the system and the likes, the packages. So add tiny, this is an environment variable, so tiny version. So add this URL. So we're going to download this. So it's going to grant permission to tiny directory. So it's going to move to the work app directory. So install npm, then run this, then expose to port 80. So it's generally based on port 80. I told you web applications are based on port 80. So it's going to expose the ports as well. So it's going to run this whenever you run the container. So basically that's how it runs. So this server, so it's going to run /tiny, move to /tiny, then node, and run this server.js. So to actually do that now, so and to actually build this application, so you have to do sudo docker build dot, then give it a tag, let's say results. Yes, let's go. Yeah, So it's doing this, it's doing all these nights updating, trying to download Tiny, move to this directory, copy the package.json and the likes. So everything it's doing that. This is the image. So see, it's doing this at the moment. Moving to app and granting permission to. So yeah, it's going almost done. Yeah, interesting. So I think we have that sorted as well. So sudo docker images. So results. Yeah, we have the tag as result. So I think we're good to go as far as that side is is concerned. So we have to run our what's it called, our application. So move them back to there. So sudo docker run. Don't ever forget detached mode. The name, we have to call it volt. Then what's it called? The port. The port, we want it on port 5001. Exposed to port 80. Now the port 80 is the default port. So we have the link. So the link should be within the Redis app, since we are connecting the Redis app to our main web app. So it's sending. So let's just say vote. So vote is the name of this, of this image here. So it's going to run the image. It's going to run a container using that image. So, and with the name vote. So let's go. Yeah, good. So docker. To be honest, I haven't tried this before. So it's quite, PS. So vote. Yeah, we're good to go. So vote. Great. So the next thing we have to do now is, since we have a Postgres, so we're going to connect the results app to our Postgres. So to do that, sudo docker run, sudo docker run. Don't forget the detach mode. So name, so results, right? So after the results, we have ports to be port 5001. I think we specified port 5000 for this, attached to port 80, which the result is running on default. So we have the link. So we are going to link the Postgres to our web application. So results, I think we'll use result for the name. Yeah, result. So let's go. We're good to go. Yeah, I think not. Am I missing anything? Sudo docker run the name, result port, link. Okay, yeah, nothing. Yeah, so let's check if the image, the container is running. So PS, yeah, great. Yeah, we have it running already. So we have our results app running, we have our vote app running, we have our Postgres app running, we have our Redis running. So let's remove this app since it was just for test, this 6.2 Redis, so it doesn't confuse us. Remove image. Remove. Yeah. No, not that. 2150. So it's out. Oh, okay. So before you remove your content, so you have to stop it. I was shocked. Yeah. So it's gone. It's gone. Yeah, it's gone. So we have our 4 application, and as we can see, I think it remains 1. So yeah, we have the net application on left. So I think we've not built that as well. So let's go to cd worker. So list, it has the Docker file as well. So just do sudo docker build. So just use the command to build Docker file. So you have to tag it to have, a name for it. So Docker, worker. So sorry. So it's going, 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 going. Almost complete, almost complete. Moving, done, done. Yeah, let's just wait. To be honest, this is the first time I'm trying this, and it's trying this at this level. It's just been Docker before, and it's quite tough to actually get your hands dirty sometimes. You're going to learn a lot by doing instead of just learning. So I'm really interested in research, doing research and like. So let's see if our command is running. So images, yeah, we did tag it, or didn't we? We tagged it as well. Okay. Oh, probably something different. But let's see. Let's run our worker command. So sudo docker run our worker container. Sorry. So don't forget detach. Don't forget name. The name is worker. Then with the link, it doesn't have. Okay, should have a link. That's a DB. That is, it's connecting like this. So then we have another link, which is the Redis. So it's going to take data from Redis and going to pass it to the Postgres. So it makes sense that way. Then we do worker. Yeah, let's see if it runs. Yeah, good, it did. So sudo docker t ps, sorry. So we have 5 applications running. So this is just we have that issue sorted. So I think we could find the IP address of our then we could access our web application. To be honest, I forgot. I can't recall to check that. So that's why there's Google. See this. Unfortunately, I don't think we could check results on here. I don't think so. It's not going to work. That's strange. It's not going to work. I doubt it. But basically, this is how it's going to work if you have, if you have all these working already. So it's going to get connected now. So let's see if it could get to the idea of, I don't have, the graphics interface for this. I should have shown you how it works, but let's see. Oh, what's wrong? Come on. So we get 17. Five zero zero one. So cat index.html. So we have the cat versus dog. So unfortunately we can't check it due to, I thought we could open up Firefox here, but basically that's how it works. So you could link your application that way. So let's move to following this step first. You could get your application running easily. So using the what's it called, using the application I downloaded, I cloned from GitHub. You could, get everything started. You could send this to your developer, and all he has to do is run the build command, the docker build command, and give it a tag. So and it's good to go. It's going to work with this application and do whatever he wishes. So that's how it works. So basically, let's top some of the containers, the web applications, and work with what's it called, the Docker Compose file that I spoke about before. So to do that, it's not difficult at all. So first we have to understand uh, the rudiment, the how the application was built. So we have to understand everything like that, and we have to understand also the linked application, and also uh, the 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 Docker Compose file. So firstly, let's create a Docker Compose file. So we're going to be using, there are a lot of versions. So the difference between the version 1 to 3 is just that there's it allows for more, for more functionalities, such as the work environment and the likes. So when you need to set up a complex application, instead of doing what we just did in the previous lesson, you could just create a Docker Compose, Docker Compose dot YAML, Docker Compose dot YAML file. Then you start with version. So let's say version 3. Then services. This service or services? I think it's service. I can't recall. So YAML file is very sensitive to write because of the indentation. It should be services. Yes, it's not one. So you're going to start with putting your image name, then the type of what's it called you want the the image name, and you have to put the image name, and then you add the image as well. So for example, we have something like this, web. So it's going to have image. No, we have to do it like that. I don't need to add the web. Basically, just add something so that we could recognize them. So Redis, so image is Redis, right? That's the issue with indentation. Very difficult. Yeah, it's not equal. Yeah, yeah, it makes sense now. It has to be equal. Oh, so image is Postgres dot 9.4, right? Then we have the default application. So these are the names we're giving them. So we have the vote app. Okay, we have the vote. I think it was named vote in the image. So we have the worker. think the image was also worker, if I'm not wrong. So worker. Then we have the result app. I think the image was also the results. The results. Okay, great. So we have to start here with linking. Let's start with the result app. So the result app is linked to links to the DB. Yeah. Right. Yeah. The result is linked to the DB, which is the Postgres database. Is the worker? I think the worker is linked to the tool. What's it called? So links. This is called a list or something. Database. The worker is linked down to the DB and Redis. Then we have the votes. Then the results should have a ports as well. Ports. I think there should be about 5001 to 80. Vote up. Okay, that's the links. So the vote up, we have a link which is to Redis. We have the Postgres. Okay, I think we're done. Yeah, DB. Yeah, I think that's all. No, the vote app should have a link as well. Yeah, a port. Sorry. So 5000 to port 80. So that's all. To be honest with you, instead of going through the hassle of writing long codes to make things work, you could just use this simple code to get your app working. Straightforward. So let's save this. So before we run it, let's stop those containers running, because this application is going to run new containers. So let's look at the containers running. So we have to stop everything. So docker sudo docker okay, stop. I think there's a way to stop it generally. I'm not sure if that will work here, or let's give it a try. So we do docker ps aq. I'm not sure if that will stop. What? Using sudo. What's wrong? That's strange. Anyway, so we have E7 4, we have 3755, we have B6A. Oh, B6A. That was a mistake. Here's F35. We have 77B. Yeah. So let's see if we have any container running. So none. think we should remove them from here as well. That's going to take long, but it's worth doing. So sudo docker remove e74 e74 3755 b6 a6 f3 5, yeah, 77b 53a 1a 3a 4053 e7a e7a 486 d1a e11 4c2 3fe. Let's see. Yo, got that done. Yep, congratulations. So to make this work, since we have the the containers there in already, so look at the images rather. So we have the images there in. So all we just have to do is run. So we have the cards with docker compose here. So this is our YAML file. So most times you might make error in this YAML file, so you have to go to online. So YAML formats online. So online to check that out. To check if you're writing, okay, this is not it. This is it, yeah. It checks if you have a good YAML file, so you are good. So to just now make this happen, just do the sudo docker compose up sudo not found. That's strange. Let's see. I think we need to install docker compose or something. I'm not sure. So you have to check your errors in Google, not a bad idea. So once you check it now, you won't need to check it later in the future. Because I think there's an issue generally. I think it was 666 not 66 or something. Let's see. Sometimes you have to be careful with things you download. Not everything is secure. So let's see. Yo, it's going, it's working. Did we do it? Was it possible? Is it working? Whoa, since we have an error. Ubuntu DB1. Whoa, we needed to add a password to this. Okay, no problem. So I think we landed into some kind of island, but thankfully we found water just a little bit of water. I think we need to add that password to this, so to our YAML file. As you can see, some of our containers actually worked. We have the worker app worked. We have the results, the redis, that the vote, the redis, and the accept this, which actually died immediately. Look at this. It exited immediately. So let's see how we could do that. I'm not sure, to be honest with you. Well, we're going to have it sorted. No problem, it's too big. So we have to get us sorted. So to do that, we remove these files as well. These, 2A, B99, FA, 9, 3B, 9F9. So I think we are good to go. Yeah. So we have to edit our compose file, Docker compose file. So we have to make sure it has, where is it, Postgres? I'm not sure, to be honest. I think it's well, yo, that's true. So we have to use the environment. Yeah, I totally forgot. Should be careful about this indentation. Easy, bro. Yeah. So okay. So we've learned something nice today. Should be careful about this next time. Oh, seems well, we lost the connection recently. Let me see if it's still recording on YouTube. Okay, it's still going. Yeah, glad. Looks like we lost the connection, but we're back. So this, I think it should work. Let's give it a try. So as the usual command, sudo docker compose. You see, compose up. Doesn't matter. I think we don't need this, to be honest. I don't need this. I don't need it, okay? As far as I'm concerned, I think we need only the password. Oh, should be a string. That's strange. Am I doing anything? Nothing wrong. Version 3. So when you face problem most of the time, you have to find a way to get solutions to these problems. So you have to find a way to get solutions to this problem, because through that you're surely going to learn a lot. So when you face a problem, make sure you find solution to them and spend hours trying to find solutions to them. So with that way, you're going to learn a lot. You're not going to make same mistake in the future. And the best thing is to learn from your mistake. Learn from it. Don't just make mistakes. Solve it and go back to it again in the future. So I'm not sure I was wrong. Not sure. Okay. Start with the flow. Well, I'm trying to get a solution to it. Some solutions and what's it called is just strange, so I shouldn't follow them all. But let's see. I'm not sure how we are going to get that. Thank you. I think we should add 5 to this. Let's go. I'm not sure what the issue is mainly, to be honest. Should be a string. Okay. Yeah. Whoa, whoa, whoa. I think I found it. Strange. So don't give up on Google. So like that. So it's asking for a string instead of a list. So if it was going to be a list, it's going to come in different stages, different numbers, probably 3 passwords and the likes. So let's see. I should have read the error very well. Yeah, let's see. Going, going, going. Yeah. What? Yes, yes, yes. Waiting for DB. What? What DB again? Am I getting anything wrong? Wow. Oh, password authentication failed. Wow. So we have to retry that again. So Control C, Control C. Thank you for coming. Quite challenging. Things like these are, are what will make strong people. So don't give up whenever you have an issue. Don't give up whenever you have an issue. Try to, check what the problem is. Try to Google it. I'm 100% sure you're not the first person facing the problem. So you should find the solution on Google. So O3 E5 3F 3549. Yeah, great. I think we should use password. I think password is the correct, stuff to use. So we have to use vim data compose password. I'm 80% sure. I'm not so sure. It should be password. Let's see. Yeah, done, done. Waiting for DB. Waiting for DB again. What? So glad we know what our problem is. Otherwise, wait, EF 5C 1E E9 5 6. So remove. I think I used the password today. I'm not sure. Let's see. I think I used the password when setting environment variable. So Postgres password. This password it should work, of course. I don't know. What's wrong? It's strange, to be honest. These spaces, without that. Okay, it's okay. Do you have a solution here? I'm not sure. I'm not sure, to be honest. I don't know why this issue is a problem, to be honest. I'm surprised. Let's try Postgres. Hopefully, we don't face same problem. I don't want to Docker compose up. Waiting for DB. If you have a problem. Whoa, it worked. Are you serious? What? Wow, great. Since it worked, great. Should have run that. So, basically, this is how to get it running. I believe it's not rocket science. You just have to keep, editing, keep searching for your problem, and keep, you know, googling, trying different things, and taking notes of your mistakes. I think with this, we are going to get better with time. So this is just the basic introduction to Docker and Docker containers and the likes. So to learn this, you can try practicing this yourself at home and keep working on getting better every day. So it's going to make sense. So this is just introduction to Docker. I hope you've learned something, and this is my first time of doing this. So I hope you learned something. So I'm going to come with more, you know, more, more topics such as the Ansible, Terraform, and the likes in AWS courses. So I hope you enjoyed it. Thanks a lot for your time. I hope you have a very nice time. Yeah, bye bye.